I want to welcome you to our annual fall town hall meeting. Of course, you just finished watching a video, We Gonna Be All Right, and you saw that I was the star in that, right? And I could prevaricate, and for those of you who perhaps don't know what that means, it means lie, and say that Kendrick Lamar actually called me after that and said, perhaps we should talk about your being in the next video. No. So I have a standing rule here working with my students, and that is, you bring me all your innovative ideas, and if indeed one of those ideas is, Mr. President, we would like for you to work with us. I am always open to doing that, but I have one rule, and that is you can never put me in a situation where the office of the presidency, right, is ever embarrassed. That's it. Because this institution has had a 155-year history of outstanding leaders in the presidency, and all of us have to always hold that history high. So, are we all set, Ms. Ben, if you will? And so, for those of you who are attending our town hall meetings for the first time, there is a kind of a method to this. I take about 30 minutes or so and give you a sense of the state of the university, what's going on across a number of spaces. And then, of course, we have microphones here at the end where we take questions from you, anything on your mind that you want to share, or if you want more information about. Now, unfortunately, we can't be here all evening, and so understand that if you have a question, come to the mic, try and be brief with the question so we can get to as many questions as possible. Is that fair? Okay, very good. So we always start our town hall meetings off by doing two things. Number one, it is to remind our university always of our core values. And we should know them by now, right? Because it's an acronym. LEADER, L-I-I-D-E-R, which is a play on leader, L-E-A-D-E-R. But L-I-I-D-E-R, leadership, innovation, integrity, diversity, excellence, and respect. And respect. Respect is foundational, and those other 5 values are built on that foundation of respect. And you heard me talk about respect all the time. That starts, of course, with respecting ourselves and absolutely, hands down, respecting this university. So those are our core values. And we are not confused about who we are. We are a very proud HBCU that has been designated by the state of Maryland as its premier public urban research institution. And if you've been reading everything in the last several years, you can see that it's a premier public urban research institution that is rising rapidly in growth, in branding, in appeal to students all over the United States and all over the world. And that's who we are. I do want to acknowledge several individuals who are new to our team this year. These are individuals that you perhaps have already run into across campus. We welcome Ms. Shivani Oligoki, who is our Director of the Office of Human Resources, our Associate Vice President. Heidi Bruce, Ms. Bruce is the Assistant Vice President for Advancement. If you're here, as I call your name, stand up. So Ms. Heidi Bruce is here. And Ms. Shivani, are you also here? Okay. I don't think our Associate Vice President for Human Resources is with us. Dr. Tosin, who is Executive Director of our Honors College. Dr. Tosin, back here, if you will. She's also overseeing the President's Leadership Circle, Dr. Dorsey Elson, who, of course, is our new Director of the Teaching Excellence and Innovation Center. She may not be with us. Ms. Oliver James, who is our Director of the Office of Procurement. That's a big word, but it means that as a public institution, we just can't go and buy things off the shelf. We can't be running down to Walmart and buying $10,000 worth of stuff. You know, we use your tuition dollars, the taxpayers' dollars, and we have to go through competitive bids for all of the major work we do at the institution. So we put it out there, anybody can bid on it. We have a very, very rigorous process to go to select the winner, and whomever is the winner, that is the entity that you have to contract to do the work with. That's procurement. Dr. Sonia Clyburn, who is director of our counseling center, she's here with us as well, and we urge you to make visits to the counseling center because Dr. Clyburn, the students, they receive from the counseling center, how many sessions? 8 to 12. And this is, you've already paid for this. And so 8 to 12, right? And I can stand here today with authenticity and say to you, I have been to the counseling center. And so there is no stigma with getting counseling. I've gone over there when you had that unbelievable relaxation room, right? And as I was in hour number 25 and day number 8, I said, you know what? I just need to go over and listen to some nice, soothing music. And I did, and I came out, and the week was like 4 days, and the hours were like 6. So trust me, it works. So if your president can do it, you do it. Okay? All right. Also, Ms. Adina Freeman-Patton, who is our Vice President and Director of Athletics. She's with us here. I have to say that this appointment is a historic appointment for Morgan. Ms. Adina Freeman-Patton is the first woman to be Director of Athletics and Vice President at Morgan State University. Okay. We also have Coach Damon Wilson, who is in his first year as our football coach. And of course, I was very, very pleased to see so many of you at the homecoming football game, but you know, it's a season. One game does not a season make. So I want to see that stadium filled to capacity when we host our next home game, which is South Carolina State. And so please come out the way that you came out at homecoming and support Coach Wilson. Coach Ortiz is our new volleyball coach, and we welcome her and ask you also to go over to the Hill Fieldhouse and support our women's volleyball team. It's a very, very spirited competition over there, and I really, really enjoy watching our student athletes. Dr. Westrick, who is our Associate Vice President and Dean of the College of Interdisciplinary and Continuing Studies. She came to us from Temple University, where she was Associate Vice Provost. And then finally, we have a new director of the magnificent marching machine, Dr. Gordon Reed, who, of course, is joining us in the very first year. He replaces Mr. Miles, who was with us for 49 years in that capacity. And so please join me, if you will, in welcoming all of these new faces to the Morgan State University leadership team. One of the things that we have been very, very intentional about here at Morgan over the last several years is to make sure that our university shows its colors. We are very proud of the orange and the blue. And when I arrived at Morgan, there was nothing on the campus, nothing with the colors orange and blue. Can you believe that? And so we have been very intentional about that because, you know, we want you to be proud of this institution. We want you to understand what it means, if you will, to live in the spirit of Morgan. And so as you go about the campus, you'll see. The first thing, we struggled with this bridge because as we were designing this bridge, it was going to be 2 football fields long. because we did not have one building on one side of the street, one building on the other side of the street to attach a pedestrian bridge to. And so in order to design the bridge that was safe, you have to extend it a longer ways on the other side of the road. So we knew that this is going to be here for a long time. And we do not want to put up an eyesore. And so we brought in the community, we got input from everywhere. And actually, it was Miss Paula Proviance, who is president of the Hillen Road Association. She was the one who pointed out to me that there was no orange and blue on the Morgan campus. And she said, Dr. Wilson, you need to do something about that. I mean, orange and blue? You're not suggesting that we put a big orange and blue bridge across Hillen Road, are you? She said, well, let's ask the designers to design it, and let's see what it looks like. And they came back, Kim, and we had a Morgan alum on that team. He got so excited about this and came back and showed us this. I said, that's a psychedelic bridge. Are you sure the community is going to support that? And then we had other focus group conversations with our students, with our alums, with the community. Everybody loved it. And so we built this as our first visible symbol of the orange and the blue, right? And we wanted to make sure, because we know how you, my amazing students are, with attaching a name to something and then all of a sudden it sticks. So we did not want you to attach, that psychedelic bridge at Morgan. The name of this bridge is the Legacy Bridge. And so, by show of hands, how many freshmen do we have here? Quite a few. All right. So this bridge, without giving you all of the history, is really why you see the exhibit on the first floor of the Student Center. The Northwood Shopping Center, where the business school is now, and where the Jenkins Hall is, and where all of the newly developed Northwood shops are. That was at one point a thriving shopping center that did not allow blacks to shop there. And the students at Morgan said, hell no. We are going to be counted. And they went over and they sat in the Reed's Drug Store. They sat in the movie theater, and they refused to go. And the Baltimore City Police came and arrested over 400 of them and took them to jail. Many of their names are legendary, and they are out here on something called the honor roll, right down here. Pay attention, including Robert Bell, who was the president of the SGA here, who graduated highest honors and went on to Harvard Law and graduated highest honors and eventually came back and he became the Chief Justice of the Maryland Court of Appeals, which is the Maryland Supreme Court. First black ever to hold that position, and held it until he retired 4 years ago. He's a part of the legacy. He's a part of that history. And so when you walk across this bridge, walk across it knowing that you are honoring the great history of the university. And as you are about to step off that bridge and go into the business school, or go into Jenkins Hall, or go into any place over at Northwood, understand you are stepping on some precious, precious history. That's your assignment. There's nothing cavalier about Morgan State University. The Legacy Bridge, the bridge to history. I want to thank Ms. Natasha Williams for understanding as well that this is the students' building, the Student Center. And she listens to you, And she also wants to make sure that when you walk in this building, that it speaks to you. It speaks about the Morgan pride. And so she and her team redid these stairs here. If you enter this building from the athletic side of the campus, that's where you see We Are the Bears. If you enter the building from the academic side, that's where we proudly display our values. And we are not at all apologetic or hesitant in saying that we are here growing the future. And young people, that's you. And why are we growing you for the future? So you can lead the world. And wow, does the world need your type of transformational leadership? We don't want that to be lost on you. Not for 1 second. Not for 1 second. Because if that is not in front of you every single second, distractions will come your way. So use this as your North Star. Morgan State University. So tried and so true. So orange and so blue. That's who we are. This particular building, Tyler Hall. Ms. McKellar, how many awards has Tyler Hall won already? Roughly?
Over a dozen.
About 12 awards, including being featured in a global magazine on design. The only building on a university campus that's highlighted in the global magazine of design, where this building was held up as the model for how to design a building that appeals to the intellectual curiosity, the sensory, and the calmness for students. And so you know what I want to see? I want to see more of you in these spaces. It takes us years to get the state to, this was $90 million roughly, right? And we designed these spaces, yes, to be aesthetically appealing, but not to just look at. We want you to go into these spaces and relax. It's not just the library. You can go in and take your computers there within these lobbies, and I mean, we have seating up top. I've never seen the students on the corner with great vistas. I want you to engage in the scenery, in the special places on campus. Learning is not designed to only take place between four walls, right? So, now, I never have a town hall meeting where I just only talk about all of the great things, right? Because that would be Pollyannish, right? And I don't believe in that. I believe in frank conversation, frank dialogue. You know exactly what my expectations are of you as president, and I need to know, I mean, you need to know what my expectations of you as students are. And you need to know, and I need to know what your expectations are of me as president. And so we had a few issues this year that was uncharacteristic of us. And I was the first to admit that we fell a bit short on one of our values. Excellence, right? I wouldn't give us an A, far from it. And excellence is something that, you know, if you're not meeting it, you need to own it. And then get yourself back to meeting it quickly. And so in this area, we had a situation with our desk assistants and our resident assistants. And here was the problem. We have about, what, Dr. Banks, 150.
15.
Oh, 115. I've already added 35 to that. 115 primarily undergraduate students that we try and assist in offsetting their room and board and tuition. That room and board. Unlike some institutions, we actually give the students bi-monthly checks. Many of the institutions just give the students a credit on their bill, which Dr. Banks and our colleagues in student affairs are meeting with the students to see if come fall 2023, we want to move to that system. Because this one is very difficult to manage. But we had several of them that missed their paychecks in September. And they missed those paychecks, some of them because they didn't respond to their emails. But the overwhelming majority, they missed their paychecks because, as an administration, we fell short. And we did not do something that we were supposed to do. And ultimately, I own that. And so we gathered with all of the RAs, we listened, they had a lot to share with us, and our responsibility was to solve the problem immediately. And that's what we did. And so we provided them with an advance on the checks that they had missed, 70%. Also, through a special fund in our foundation, Ms. Donna Howard was able then to provide the students with a one-time $500 grant to enable them to make sure that they had appropriate money to purchase food and other items that they had. That should have been 70%. And so this other piece is not, it just happened, right? And so one of the things that I will never, ever tolerate at Morgan is a student that is without food. It's just not going to happen. And so those of you know that every time I go over to the canteen, I literally stand in line and just back through, who knows, 20 students at a time, right? And pay for all of their meals. I do this practically every time I'm in the canteen. And then I personally offered to all of those RAs, personal, this is not for university reimbursement or anything like that, that if they had an immediate need for money to assist them in purchasing groceries, let me know, and I would arrange for them to come by my office and get it. And so Ms. Robin Gray, my executive assistant, devised a plan in the office where we could document. I just have to do it for any other purposes, make sure that the students got what they were supposed to get. And so how many students did we eventually provide assistance to, Ms. Gray? About 25 students each came and received a personal contribution from me to enable them to get groceries until we could get them back on track. So we're back on track, and that is moving along the way that it should have initially, right? Homecoming. So let me say a word about homecoming. So there were challenges, and it was one of the most successful homecomings if you view it through the eyes of the thousands of alums who came back and all of the comments that I have received from them, right? So a very, very spirited gathering. And of course, the challenges started with the large number of individuals who ascended onto campus now for, I guess the last, 4 years or so, Dr. Banks. So we began to hear about 4 years ago that word around social media was that the Morgan State homecoming was the place you really wanted to be. And as a result, we started getting just the volume of traffic for homecoming just was historic. Many individuals who had absolutely no connection to the institution were just coming to, quote unquote, have the party of their life, right? Not understanding that this is a 155-year-old venerable institution with traditions and our alums and our students, they understand the traditions, they know how to have a good time on a foundation of respect, right? And so in anticipation of that, we made several changes this year to homecoming. And you can read the memo that we sent out announcing those changes, including partnerships with local law enforcement. And I think we ended up with about 50 or so additional armed police on the campus, coupled with our own armed police force. We increased lighting on the campus. There was a recommendation that came from the committee that Dr. Banks and Chief Hatcher co-chaired the homecoming committee that basically said the students said that, but after the football game, there's nothing for us to do. And so therefore, why don't you consider the practice football field in a tented area where you could have some organized activities for students. Then the recommendation was that the campus is not designed for people to just come and, quote unquote, party for 24 hours. That's not who we are. And so the recommendation from this very, very extensive homecoming committee was that we close the campus at 9 o'clock. That was not some presidential edict. It came from several members of the homecoming committee that included students, faculty, staff, alumni, neighbors, etc. And so even with all of that, of course, we had the unfortunate incident at the end of the evening when the campus should have been closed. And those were the challenges, the crowd size, and then when indeed the campus was supposed to have been closed, we had the shooting incident outside of the student center. So we do understand that, and we are looking now at how we continue to perfect the homecoming experience at Morgan. And you'll be hearing more from us as we kind of reassemble this team. They're going to go back and look at what else we can do. And once they bring that forward, we perhaps will have a town hall meeting, just on homecomings. So we're all on the same page. So we all understand what the goals are, what the expectations are. And we can all come to our homecomings and really just have a good time. So what I want to do now, I just want to share with you a couple of interviews. We have those ready to go, Ms. Ben. These were done live here on the morning of homecoming. And they were done by one of the local TV stations. It started with me, I believe. And so let's run through these. Well, once again, for our homecoming gala, this is a black tie affair that typically about 1,200 people go to out in Martins West. This year we raised nearly $500,000 for scholarships. But I'm there as president, and typically I don't get back home until 1 a.m. And then I have to be back on campus by 7 a.m., right? And so understand that when PR told me that I had to be here at 6:30 to basically give this live interview with the local TV station, I went, wow, that's 3 hours of sleep. And so this is how this started. Please run.
Well, great fall October skies meet homecoming at local high schools and colleges.
It is so fun, and today is the day for Morgan State University for the Bears there, and there's a full day of fun and festivities.
WJZ is live at Legends Plaza, where the president of Morgan State University is standing by. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Wilson. How are you this morning?
Quite well, good morning, and thank you for having me.
So it's homecoming weekend, right? Tell us what we've got in store at Morgan State.
Yes, it's homecoming weekend here at National Treasure, Morgan State University, and what you will be seeing today is literally tens of thousands of Morgan alumni from all over the United States, indeed a few from around the world, descend back here on our campus where they made unbelievable memories, and many of them met their spouses, and they are reliving their college days, and it's just going to be an incredible day of reunification and fun.
And Dr. Wilson, what are you most excited about for today?
You know, I'm always excited when I just look to my left, look to my right, and all I see is just a sea of orange and blue, and everyone is enjoying themselves. And then, of course, we got 9,600 students here in Morgan this year, the largest number of students we've ever had, and they're taking it all in. They're seeing our alums are coming back, and they fell in love with Morgan when they were freshmen, and that love has only grown deeper. And so I just love to see the family atmosphere, because you have, the small children that are coming, and they all have on their own Morgan orange and blue, and the parents are just saying to them, in 15 more years, that's where you're going to go to school. And so I really love to see all of the incredible memories that are being made here and the ones that are being rekindled.
I see some members, members of your marching band standing next to you. Or do you have a parade that's coming up that people should go to?
Yes, as a matter of fact, our parade starts at 8:30 this morning, and will perhaps end around 11 o'clock. And so we invite everyone to come out Hillen Road and take in the homecoming parade at Morgan State University.
Dr. Wilson, thank you so much. Happy homecoming.
Thank you very much.
And autumn means homecoming for high schools and colleges, and it's more than just a football game.
Oh, absolutely. And it is homecoming weekend at Morgan State University, and there are really all kinds of events happening today.
WJZ is live at Morgan this morning, and Dina Freeman-Patton, the school's athletic director, is joining us. Thank you so much for being here, Dina. Tell me about this football game that's happening today.
Good morning. Well, it's homecoming, and it's my first homecoming as Morgan State's Vice President and Director of Athletics, and we are taking on Norfolk State, and so we're excited for the game today.
And you're decked out in your orange. Of course, we wouldn't have it any other way. What are you most excited about?
I'm excited about the spirit that's going on around Morgan State right now, the excitement around homecoming. It's not just about the game, it's about bringing back our alumni, and it's about the students that are currently here seeing that and experiencing that and helping us to move into the future.
Is this going to be a sold-out game? Is it just going to be a sea of orange at the stadium?
It's going to be packed. I've had a lot of friends, because I'm from Baltimore. I'm originally from here. I'm coming back home after 30 years. Yes. And this will be my first homecoming since I was a teenager, since I was a student at Lake Clifton High School.
Oh, so fun. And we know there's a parade. Talk a little bit about the other festivities happening today.
So there's a parade going on right after this, probably starting at 9 o'clock. And then we'll also have some festivities for our Alumni Association groups that will happen in the Student Center. And then we'll have a little bit of tailgating going on, and then everybody will come into the stadium at 1 p.m. and ready to beat Norfolk State.
Ooh, what could be better?
Nothing. I know they're going to win today, so we're excited for you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Dina. Enjoy. Well, it's homecoming time at many local high schools
Just a
and
couple more.
colleges.
Yes, today is the day for the Morgan State University Bears, and there is really a full day of fun and festivities.
WJZ is live at Morgan State this morning. Natasha Williams, the homecoming chair, is joining us. Good morning, Natasha. What's on deck for today?
Good morning. Today we have our parade. We're actually getting ready to start our parade at 9 a.m. sharp. We have Vendor Village. We have our alumni tents, homecoming suites, the football game. We have a whole day full of great things for our alumni, our students, and our community guests.
And it couldn't be a more beautiful day. Natasha, I'm so glad to see, though, you're of course rocking the orange, but you're still staying warm, so that's definitely a good idea. What would you say you are most excited about today? We can just feel your excitement. We love it.
I'm most excited for the game. We have such an amazing football team, and I cannot wait to see how they defeat Norfolk.
Okay, and I know the band will be a part of the parade, right? They'll also be at the game. Is that something that students look forward to?
Yeah. We love the M3 Magnificent Marching Machine, and our Grand Marshal today is our longtime band director for 45 years, just retired. And so we are going to have an amazing time today at Morgan State University.
And with this game, so is this a rival that you're playing? Is this going to be a close game, or do you think you'll just sort of annihilate them?
Well, in my mind and heart, we are going to annihilate them. No one compares to the Morgan State University Bears.
Of course.
It can be a little chilly, but we thrive in the cold with bears.
Doubt it. Thank you so much for joining us, Natasha. We appreciate it. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course, we're cheering them on.
Absolutely, hometown team.
Yes.
Yes, and the fall activities also include homecoming.
Absolutely.
Which is happening for some local high schools and colleges, and it's more than just about a football game here, guys.
So much more, yes. And it is homecoming weekend at Morgan State University, and there are all kinds of events going on.
So we are live at Morgan this morning, and we're talking to some alumni.
Oh.
Rob Owens from the class of 61 and Reginald Thomas from the class of 70s. Hi, gentlemen.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. We are seeing this orange. How pumped are you guys for today's game and today's festivities?
We're looking forward to the day. All the alumni are coming back to Morgan, and we're just so excited.
What are you most excited about? The game or just seeing old friends? Tell us.
It's a combination of both and everything else. We haven't seen each other in a while. The pandemic had a part to play with that, but we are reuniting here today. We want to have a great football game, and that's what we're here for.
So how has homecoming changed from when you were a student to today? What are some of the biggest changes?
My fellow alum, Ron Owens, speak to that.
Hey, look, once again, we get together and we take that walk down memory lane, start talking about all the good times we had here on the Morgan campus. I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi fraternity, as you can see, and all my brothers will be coming back and we'll be chirping, we'll be singing, probably down in the parking lot, as we normally do after the game. So again, looking forward to it, and good Lord, this is a date that's always on my calendar, homecoming day, and I'm so happy that it is now here, and I get to see some old classmates.
And we are so excited for you, gentlemen. No, go ahead.
Oh, absolutely. Another big event here today is my graduating class of 1970, of which I am the class agent. We're hosting a brunch today. So it's another opportunity for all of us to get together and have a lot of joy and fond memories today.
Oh, we think it's just going to be great. We will be cheering you guys on, although we know you don't need it. Of course, you're going to dominate in the game, but we hope you gentlemen just have the best day.
Mm-hmm. Well.
Okay, so this speaks to the Morgan homecoming, right? This is what we want you to be feeling when you are coming back to your future homecomings. Right? You can see that was warm, it was spirited. Individuals are coming back from the class of 1949, the class of 2009, the class of 2019. They're not coming back for foolishness. They're coming back because this was a special place, right? And it it propelled them to a life forward that has been impossible for them to replicate in any other aspect of their lives. That's what I want you to embrace about Morgan Homecoming. And so long as we're in that space, our homecomings will be the best in class for the right reasons. Now, moving forward, we have been investing a lot in ensuring that all of the record number of students that we are getting here at Morgan, that we are retaining all of you to the extent that we can, financially and otherwise, and we're seeing more of you graduate. And so as a result, we have the second highest number of new freshmen in our 155-year history. We officially reported these numbers on October the 16th to the state, 2,203 new freshmen. For all of you here that are members of the class of 2026, give yourselves a round of applause, please, because you are counted in this number. You can see here how enrollment at Morgan over the last 2 years has absolutely just blossomed. And so look at our enrollment over the last 12 years, right? And so this is 2009, and so I arrived as your president in 2010, and we had 1,234 freshmen in the fall of 2010. And then this period here is one where we had the lowest number of freshmen because during the administration of former President Barack Obama, there was a rule change around the Parent Plus loan. And as a result, tens of thousands of students at HBCUs were impacted negatively by that. And so we ended up losing about 300 to 400 new freshmen because the rules had changed with regard to how their parents could qualify for a Parent Plus loan. But then it was kind of consistent, around 1,200 or so each year. Then in the fall of 2020, pandemic, we had 1,202 freshmen. When we decided that we were going to partially reopen the campus in fall of 2021, that number almost doubled, 2,288. What you're not seeing is just the thousands of applications that we got. And we had to close our application portal off, Dr. Mfume, almost a month earlier, because there was no use to continuing to accept applications if we knew we could not meet the capacity. And then, of course, this year, the second highest number of freshmen. Also, in terms of total enrollment, you can see here as well. So our total enrollment, once again, in 2009, 7,226 students. And we were consistently in the 7,000, mid 7,000. Now, in fall of 2021, for the very first time in our history, we eclipsed 8,000 students. So we had 8,469. And then this is the official enrollment. So we still are enrolling students, but we had to officially report to the state our enrollment as of a certain date. And that's the number that you see printed, even though we may eventually still enroll about 75 or so more students. 9,101. So that's almost what? A 2,000 student increase in total enrollment over 10 years. You are part of an institution that is rising rapidly. Others are recognizing the value of a Morgan degree, the value of a Morgan experience all over the United States, all over the world. We have students from over 40 states and 60 countries represented here as well. Also, you can see here that now We are awarding more bachelor's degrees than we did 10 years ago. It's up now to about 400 or so more degrees. We also are awarding more master's degrees, a 30% increase over that 10-year period. And then look at what we're doing in producing PhDs, doctors, right? A 102% increase. And that number is going higher, much, much higher. Morgan right now is in the top 3 institutions in the nation in awarding doctorates to blacks in this country, right? And we are right on the cusp of perhaps passing the other 2 HBCUs in this space as well. For 12 straight years now, 12 straight years, we have actually, this is the 13th straight year, isn't it, Dr. Fume?
It's 12.
It's 12, okay. And so this is the 12th straight year where basically over 70% of all the students that we have as freshmen are returning. And as a result of this consistency over a number of years, we have landed in U.S. News and World Report as one of the HBCUs where freshmen actually come back. And they stay on, and many of them graduate. And so, likewise, a 40% increase in our graduation rate. We set us a goal, 50% by 2025. We're going to get there, and then we have another goal in our next strategic plan. What you're not seeing here is that the graduation rate arguably could be 20 points higher if, for example, the university had the kind of financial aid to allow so many of you to continue in an uninterrupted way. But we don't. And so when you go to the more resource institutions where they can basically then just go in the budget and pull out another, $20 million, it might end up, when we compare those graduation rates to that school, if you don't know what you're looking at, it's only because that school has more money that Morgan does not have. So as it stands right now, we are taking our own money, not the federal government's money. And I believe Mr. Evans is what, 20-some million dollars? Yes. Okay, so let's say upward of $25 million. All right, so upward of $25 million that you pay to us as tuition. The state is giving us an annual appropriation, right? So when we put that together, we take out of that pot about $25 million and give it directly back to you in the form of institutional aid, institutional scholarships. Now, to put this in perspective, the Pell Grant program, those of you who qualify for the Pell Grant, annually, and I had to go back and make sure that the numbers that I'm about to convey to you are accurate, but we were only getting about $17 million a year from the Pell Grant. So Morgan is bringing millions of dollars more to the table to help you to finish what you came here for than what the federal government is providing you in terms of financial aid. And so understand that. And that's why you're seeing these incredible increases in these numbers. And so I'm going to move through the rest of this fairly quickly. It's a lot of pictures here. And Ms. Ben, I'm trying to advance this, and nothing is happening. Transformation Morgan 2030. Go to the next slide. And so the takeaway here is that this institution will never, ever, ever stand still. And so don't really celebrate a place that is just about living in the past. You got to know where you came from now. You got to honor that, right? But you can't live back there because things change quickly. And so Morgan can never, ever, ever stand still, because when you stand still, you become a candidate for obsolescence. And you can't just be celebrating what you did 3 years ago, right? When the world is moving, when everything is moving. And so while I'm your president, this is going to be a dynamic institution. It's going to be a fast-moving institution. It's going to be a high-performing institution. It's going to be relevant so that your sheepskins here, when you put them on the wall, this is the way you should look at that. So when you come across that stage at Morgan and you get your sheepskin, it should be like an incredibly valuable piece of stock. And when you put that on the wall in 2026 or 2025 or 2024 or 2023, when you put that on the wall, your expectation should be that every single year, that degree from the national treasure is more valuable than it was when you got it, right? And the only way that happens is that if the institution is always moving, if the institution is always relevant, if the curriculum is changing to reflect the future of work and the work of the future so that you have the skills that you need to get out there and make it happen. And so these are the 6 things here. In future town hall meetings, I'll be reporting on the progress of all of these. But one of the things that we are very, very intentional about as we now position our university for 2030, for the next 8 years, Transformation Morgan 2030, leading the future. We understand we can't lead the future if we don't start with investing once again in student success and well-being. And that well-being starts in the way I introduced Dr. Clyburn. It is to invest in counseling, to invest in that which we know so many of us are carrying as we move further and further on the west side of COVID. We're carrying pain, we're carrying hurt, we're carrying loss. So many of us lost people close to us. You know, I lost 3 people. I lost my oldest brother, my sister-in-law, my nephew, and could not even go to their funerals. And so I know the collective loss, and as a result, we are investing in well-being. That's why you have wellness days. So take advantage of those, right? Go to these serene places. Exhale, right? I mean, it's okay for you to get off the treadmill for a little bit and recharge, but we're going to be investing in well-being, and then these other things here we'll go over later, but you can go on the website and read about all of this. So financial transparency, because what some of our students might not understand is that the way we have to get money from the state, first of all, when they give you an appropriation and they say, okay, you are to use this for this, you can't then turn around and use it for this. I'm the president, and so if that happens, guess what will happen? I'll be in jail, right? So, therefore, we have an operating budget of?
Today is approaching $380 million.
All right, so $380 million, that's our operating budget. That means that all of that money is designed to support the operations of Morgan. None of that $380 million per se is used to build any building on campus. And repeat that.
Not technically.
Well, not realistically, but Tyler Hall is not being, so no. So I want to make sure I'm not equivocating. None of that money is used to build any building that you see on campus, right? Any of the, well, yeah, in terms of.
Because student housing is supported through that operation.
That is correct. So that's a good correction here. So the state does not provide us with dollars to build student housing, and so we have to come up with very creative ways to build student housing. And to try and build you some really attractive student housing at a reasonable cost, because we have to basically pass that cost on to you. And that's the only way any institution other than the private ones are able to build student housing is through these, what they call P3 arrangements. It's a public-private partnership where they're bringing all the money to the table, and then your housing rates are then used to basically pay them for having built the facility, which is what we have with Thurgood Marshall Hall. And so, operating $380 million. And so, when we go to the state, we look at what additional priorities do we want to ask the state to fund on that existing foundation of $380 million, or whatever that is, for the operating. And so this year, we have identified 5 critical areas that we have started our conversation with the state to support for what we call FY24. So for students, that's just, kind of nice letter and number, but what that means is that our university counts our fiscal year as that which begins July 1 of each year and ends June 30th of the next year. And so in this case, we're asking the state for these dollars that will start July 1 of 2023 and take us through June 30th of 2024. And so when you see numbers like FY24, it's always on the back end of that year, right? And so you can see here we're asking for $3.6 million for a national center on the elimination of educational disparities. That's going to be housed in our School of Education and Urban Studies to try and really close this gap between the performances of black kids and brown kids and everybody else. That gap is widening in an alarming way in math and reading and in these other areas, right? And we know that those are our future students. And we have to get in there and we have to work across the state and Baltimore City and other areas to make sure that those students have what they need in order to be successful when they get here. This is a center. These are all research centers, education and microelectronics. In essence, billions, trillions of dollars are about to be invested in the chips industry. And we want to make sure that as that industry grows, and it will grow around the world, right, that once again, it has black and brown representation. It's called a diverse workforce. And that you are being prepared to get out there and get these $150,000 a year jobs and to drive that industry, growing the future, leading the world. We have to always be on the cutting edge. So how do we make sure our students are prepared for these industries? Then I'll say a little bit about this in a minute. We intend to complete the construction of the new building that is going up on the corner of Argonne and Hillen Road. That's the Health and Human Services building by summer of 2024. That building is costing
About 140, I think it's about 149,000. No, 171.
$171 million, right? But once that building opens, then we got to operate it. We have to operate it. And so we're asking $6.8 million a year to make sure what? That the systems that are in that building, right now that are cutting edge, they're the best in the world, that we have people that are trained to operate them, that we have dollars so we can replenish those systems on an ongoing basis, right? Otherwise, if you don't have that, you can spend $1 trillion on a building, and if you're not maintaining it, in 4 years, it will look like a building that you built for $150. And so that's what we are moving toward doing. We also are asking for funding to start here a research center on brain science. We have access, Provost Yu, to several thousand African-American brains. 500. 500 African-American brains. And we have a certain partnership with an entity, the Lieber Institute.
Lieber Institute for Brain Development.
For brain development. Now, we have the credibility in this space because we will be looking at the brains of African Americans to see what we learn with regard to health disparities, right? That, okay, so here's what we're seeing here that could have led to, who knows, premature deaths. These things could have been avoided if these things had occurred in the larger environment, like lead paint or whatever that is, right? And so Morgan has an opportunity here to lead the nation in thinking about how to address all kinds of inequities by starting on this end and making our way back to the cradle. And so that's what that is designed to do. And then the last is we're asking for ongoing funding to start here at Morgan, a national center for the preservation and advancement of democracy. Now, young people, what you are living through right now, right? It's some scary times. because the very foundation upon which the country was erected, flawed as it is, and we know it is, but it is basically the symbol of democracy around the world. And slowly, those things that we took for granted now, that we take for granted, that our ancestors fought and died for, are being taken away. Like your right to vote. You got 28 states that have passed laws that basically you almost have to have 3 PhDs to figure out how to vote. I grew up in rural Alabama, and my father was turned down so many times and was presented with a jar of jelly beans and said, okay, Mr. Wilson, how many jelly beans are in this jar? My father said, goddamn, I don't know. Right? Well, you don't qualify to vote. And when I see what is going on now, it takes me back to racist Alabama. I can say that. That's my home state. I lived it. We need to pay attention. You need to pay attention. And paying attention, with all due respect, is not just gorging yourself on TikTok. It's reading legitimate stuff. It is triangulating, if you will, what you read. Because all that stuff you read on social media is not necessarily accurate and true. And your college education is designed for you to figure out what is real and what is Memorex. And that's what this center is going to be designed to do. And then on the capital side, we're asking the state for $145 million next year to enable us to continue these projects that we have undertaken. So once again, I feel very good that we'll come away with more than $145 million. And I feel pretty good that many of the things we're asking for in the operating budget will be funded. When that is funded, to bring this to a close, we can't take, let's take Health and Human Services, right? So we're going to get the $67 million. What Ms. McCalla has been able to do since she's been here is to take whatever the money that has been appropriated for a new building and to build that building and have a little money left over. We can't take, if we have $2 million left over, we can't take that $2 million and say, we're going to give this to our students in student financial aid. That can't happen. We can't even take the $2 million and move it to another building. You know what we have to do with the $2 million? Give it back to the state, right? And using that strategy, and Morgan is the only institution that I'm aware of that has, in the last, 12, 13 years, where we have never gone back to the state to ask for additional money to build the building. That has created such goodwill in Annapolis that when we bring forward buildings for funding, we have a now high chance of getting those funded because people have high regard for the management and oversight of the resources that they allocate to the institution, right? Now, how many of you have any knowledge at all of a long-running lawsuit in the state of Maryland alleging that HBCUs in Maryland were discriminated against for decades because of the fact that they were HBCUs? Yes. So, a show of hands if you have knowledge about this. All right. So this lawsuit existed from 2006. I started in 2006, and so it was it had run about 14, 15 years, and it was finally settled legislatively, not through the courts, legislatively, 2 years ago. The settlement was that the 4 HBCUs in Maryland would receive collectively over a 10-year period $500 $77 million. Now, that's a long way from what we were asking. So we were asking for like $1.5 billion. So $1,500,000,000. The settlement, and we were appreciative that we were going to get something to enable us to begin to address some of the challenges. $577 million, $57 million allocated per year for 10 years. Of the $57 million, that money is to be divided between Morgan, Coppin, Bowie, and the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. The amount of money each of those HBCUs would get from that $57 million is based on an enrollment formula, where HBCU 1, as the numerator, in this case Morgan, with 9,100 students. And then the denominator would be the enrollment of all HBCUs, all 4. And so let's say all 4 is 25,000. So it'd be 9,100 over 25,000. And then the percent of the 25,000 that is the 9,100, and let's say if that's 40%, Morgan, then you multiply 40% times $57 million, and that's how each institution gets the annual appropriation. I hope I did not confuse you. So for this year, starting July 1, we got our first appropriation of $15.1 million. It was projected to be $24 million for Morgan in the first year. But the lawyer fees turned out to be about $24 million. And so they took the $24 million out of the 57 in year 1. And then what was left would be the 35 or so, and that was really what was divided amongst the HBCUs. I'm not going to go through that, but if you want more details in terms of how we have invested the $15.1 million, send us an email, and we'll be more than happy to respond. So new and planned buildings, if you will, our Earl G. Gray School of Business and Management is now celebrating 5 years, is it, Dr. Bogosian?
7 years.
7 years, okay, so we opened that, I can't believe it, in 2015. And we're very, very pleased. The School of Business was in McMecken Hall here on the quad, but just a super facility with a capital markets lab, et cetera. Martin Jenkins, Ms. McKellar, we are celebrating 4 years.
That opened in 17.
In 17? Oh, wow. I didn't realize 5 years. So we're celebrating 5 years. And so the School of Business, this investment was roughly 80 million?
Yes, about 79.
But, okay, 80 million. Jenkins was another 88?
No, about 80.
About 80. So for these 2 buildings, you're looking at, close to $200 million there that Morgan has basically lobbied the state to get these facilities. So do the math now. It's $200 million, roughly. $171 million in Health and Human Services, right? And then you got another $120 million in Thurgood Marshall Hall. Just keep adding it up. You'll see how we get to over $1 billion. Also, Calvin and Tina Tyler Hall, 88 million, if you will. And so now, although the Tylers gave Morgan a gift of $20 million, that $20 million is not going into this building. That $20 million is an endowed scholarship fund to help needy students to stay at Morgan. It has nothing to do with the building. We basically named the building in recognition of the incredible investment that he had made in the institution, not to build a building, right? But that's a beautiful building, as you can see. And Thurgood Marshall Hall, it opened on time, 670 beds. We do realize that we still have some skin work to do on the building. We still have some aesthetic work to do on the building, but the building cleared all of the clearances. Otherwise, you would not be living there as well. And so very, very pleased with that. And just some pictures of this new facility. If I had lived in a facility like this when I was an undergrad, I would still be a student. Right? I mean, trust me on that one. We're now moving toward finishing our dining hall, and Ms. McCallum has informed me that we are looking for, quote unquote, a soft opening of the dining hall in time for us meaning the senior administration, to serve you Thanksgiving dinner. And so that's the goal. And Dr. Banks, that usually happens, the Monday or so before Thanksgiving, right? The week before Thanksgiving. So you have advertising. It's just a wonderful, wonderful affair. We'll all be there in our chef hats and serving you turkey and vegan meals and whatever that has been prepared for your palate. And so very good. Just a few more pictures here of the new housing concept. And I think, okay, so the Board of Regents has given me the authorization and our team to move forward now and build a twin tower to Thurgood Marshall Hall. And that's the rendering of that twin tower. Its construction will start early in 2023. And the expectation is that this building that will house another 600 plus students will be ready for occupancy in fall of 2024. So, new student housing is coming to the Morgan campus. We're doing it as rapidly as we can and embrace high quality in the process. This is 110 million. So you got 110 million, you got 120 million. So these two facilities here, that's $230 million. It's not cheap. And we have to figure out a way that we can build them once again and not double your housing rates. And so, trust me, we had a great team. We come together, we think through all these things and try to move forward. Here's the groundbreaking for that new Health and Human Services building that's going to go in the corner. This is what that building is going to look like on your right. That's the new building that will be standing there in the summer of 2024. And that building is going to house the School of Social Work, the School of Community Health and Policy, our nursing program, our counseling center, our medical technology program, and all kinds of initiatives that are knitted together around health and human services. So this is going to be an incredible gateway to Morgan. Within the next year, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. McCallum, so I want you to just kind of visualize now. All of the parking spaces right now between the front of the business school all the way back to Argonne, where you have the remnants of the red brick wall and all that, everything that you see now in that is not renovated, right? And then I want you to come to the back side and visualize everything back to that red brick wall that is elevated. All that has been sent out to bid for a completely new landscaping job. And so we'll extend the Morgan wall, the decorative Morgan wall, all the way from the public safety building all the way to the corner of Argonne and Hillen, and then up Argonne and Hillen as well. Eventually it is going to meet the business school. So we have an open campus, we have an urban campus, and I shared this with the community before. So over a period of time, what we're doing is to slowly close in some of the openness of the campus, but to do it in the most inviting, attractive way, because we're not sending the message that we don't want our community on the campus. That's not the message. It is, how do we make sure that we can create a campus now in an urban space that is more manageable with regard to public safety, and at the same time that is visually appealing. And so, Ms. McCallum, when is that project, you think, expected to be completely done?
Before the end of next year.
Okay, before the end of 2023.
Yes.
Yes, okay, but we're doing it in stages. And so the back part will perhaps be done
Hopefully by
But-
paved area by graduation.
by graduation of 2023. And this will be the backside of the business school, right? That will include the reconstruction of the brick, of the wall,
Yeah, backside of Jenkins.
the backside of Jenkins. So it could be a new wall now. All that's coming down. All that red stuff, yes, is coming down. And then Ms. McCall is going to move then to the front side. And the bottom line is that by the time this Health and Human Services building opens, all new landscaping, that is going to be a stunningly appealing gateway to the university. And this, once again, just a different angle for the building, if you will. Next up, we have secured another capital investment of $250 million. You can applaud because this is for you, right? And understand this is not easy. And so it has taken us years. And so where we have the Washington Service Center right now, which is on the corner, if I'm walking to O'Connell Hall, all that in the vernacular, what I call just a mess, right? It's just an eyesore with all the physical plan, all that. I can't wait to move all that away from us forever. And so this is coming down. That whole corner, all that is going to be razed, R-A-Z-E-D, right? And we have procured an architectural firm to design this science building for us, and we were fortunate that the largest African-American owned architectural firm in the country won the bid. And so this building is going to be designed by an African-American architectural firm, and it will be the largest project ever undertaken in Morgan's history of $250 million. And that's what that is going to look like. And we are moving forward with the expectation, Provost you and all of our faculty members here in the sciences, that we will be moving into these new digs in fall of 2027, 5 years from now. Also, we are moving forward in our affiliation with Salute LLC to open a College of Osteopathic Medicine at Morgan. And the expectation is that the first class of students will enroll in 2024. This would be the first medical school established on the campus of an HBCU in 45 years. The last one, of course, Morehouse School of Medicine. And I hope I don't miss one, but I think there are only 4 medical schools affiliated with HBCU. So you have the Morehouse School of Medicine, Meharry, Howard, only 4. The other one is not. It's the Drew University in Los Angeles, right? And so this will only be the 5th medical school in the country that ostensibly saying that we are coming into existence because of the incredible shortage of African-American primary care physicians. So in the 70s, there were like 524 black men in medical school. The numbers are not too dissimilar for black women. When we looked at the numbers 3 years ago, it was 514. And so not only has there not been any growth, there's been a decrease. And that's really what was attractive to us, is we got to really kind of use our institution now to respond to this incredible need. And the Montebello complex is going to be razed, torn down, and private dollars will be used to build a new School of Medicine building. And that building is scheduled to be completed around 2026 or so. And so the medical students will use existing Morgan State labs, existing Morgan State classrooms for a couple of years until their facility is finished. We acquired 59 acres up the street, Lake Clifton. You'll hear more about that. It's going to take us about a year or so to master plan that out. Most likely, we'll have graduate student housing. Perhaps we'll have some more student housing on that site. We'll have a multi-purpose convocation center, a place to have our commencements indoors, a place to for our sporting team, for our basketball team, and our volleyball teams, and swim. All of that, right? It's going to be a very, very attractive facility. That's the first facility that we hope to build out there. And then, as I come to an end here, let me go back to housing. And so, I showed you the two towers, right? Okay, so come fall of this year, well, actually come May of this year, we are going to take offline these two buildings. We're going to take offline Cummings and Baldwin. And they're going to come offline so the minute students move out of those buildings, whether it's May 15th or whatever, right? The trucks are going to be lined up to come in and start the renovating. And so the expectation is that those buildings are going to be completely renovated on the inside. And the rooms are going to be rebuilt. I am sick and tired of looking at cement walls. And so it'll be a different kind of finish there, if you will. And so you're going to have a very high quality living experience in a legacy building, right? And so that's the standard is, yes, we're going to bring the same kind of amenities to our legacy buildings as we have in these spiffy towers, right? So those two are coming offline. The expectation is that they will stay offline for 1 year. And they come offline in May of 2023, and they will be ready for repopulation in the fall of 2024. That's about 15 months, right? Then when that happens, and we move students back in, we then are going to take offline Harper Tubman. Same kind of thing, right? Take that off for 15 months, renovate it, and then move students back in. So when these legacy buildings are all slated to be renovated, that's a part of our housing plan, between now and 2028. But these ones are up first. Then we'll eventually move to Rollins and Blount and do some additional work there. However, as we bring these two back online, we are then looking to tear down O'Connell Hall. And the plan now is to build a third tower, like the Thurgood Marshall Tower, on that site that would also accommodate 600 students. And so if you could just have some patience with us as we take the institution now through this incredible transformational period. No, many of you won't be here to experience some of what I'm saying, but you know what? Just as those videos played, and the alums are coming back, and they are just, whoa! That piece of stock on the wall is unbelievably valuable. That's the way you're going to feel when you come back and you go like, oh, these students don't realize how good they have it this year, right? And some of the things that you complained about, trust me, if you hear students complaining about anything when you come back, right, you're not going to have any tolerance for that because you don't understand what I went through, whatever it was that you went through. You always kind of embellish it a little bit. Murphy Fine Arts, that has been offline for the last 2 years because the pandemic resulted in like these panels becoming unglued, and basically they fell. And so these things are manufactured in a very, very unique way. Only a few manufacturers in the country. Ms. McCalla has been working to make sure that we procured that appropriately. Murphy is scheduled to come back online December 1st of this year, and we are going to have our Founders Day convocation there. So we're pushing back Founders Day convocation. Once again, I don't like having convocations like that in Hill Fieldhouse. Murphy to symbolize the dignity of the ceremony, special place. And I have to say to you, I'm going to get through these buildings, but while I'm on convocations, we have some work to do there, right? Because I did not I did not appreciate. No, I was upset. No, I was borderline angry with how certain members of our Morgan family comported themselves at the matriculation convocation. I realized we have a lot of work to do. We only ask of you an hour and a half. There's a reason why we have these convocations. It is to convey to you a message. It is to convey to you reverence for the place. It is to put you in a position where someone has identified a speaker. So in that matriculation convocation, the president is always the speaker, but I'm never the speaker anymore. But someone has identified the fact that this is a voice that you need to hear. And when you come into those places, come in with respect in mind. And so when we reopen Murphy, right? That building is named after Carl Murphy, who was the first black chair of the Morgan State University Board of Trustees, and whose family was the founding family of the Afro newspaper. And so let's treat that building with dignity and with respect. We also have taken completely offline the Hurt Gym. That building, if you peek inside, it is being completely renovated, everything. And so for those of us who've been here for a while, we never had air conditioning in Hurt Gym. In the summer, it'd be like 400 degrees in there, right? But all that, a new gymnasium, new floors, new classrooms, new lobby, new fitness center, the whole 9 yards. And the expectation is that this will be back online when, Ms.?
Fall of next year.
All right, fall of 2024, we'll bring that back online as well. 2023, okay. Northwood Commons, yay! This is what, it's taken us 10 years to do this project, right? And learn a lot in the process. But I would urge you to go back and look at some of the pictures, some of the before pictures, in order to appreciate the transformation, right? You can't just blink your eye and all of a sudden something appears. You got to understand from where you came in order to appreciate what you have. And this is what we have there. And we did all kinds of listening sessions with students, with the communities. This is what we heard from you. And this is what we are delivering to you, including the Leader Supermarket. First time this area has had a high-quality supermarket in decades. And we have a Georgia Peach, we have Wingstop, we have Chipotle, we have, and now let me tell you that the alums, they only wanted to know one thing. Is Sonny's coming back? They challenged me so much when I said we were going to renovate Northwood. They said, well, Dr. Wilson, is Sonny's coming back? And I went, And so my son was a student here at the time, and I said, well, in the area, have you been to this place called Sonny's? He said, oh, yeah, Dad, they got the best chicken boxes and the best this and this. So I said on my social media page, I've never been to Sonny's. And oh my God, I got like 400 comments, right? Like, oh, Dr. Wilson, you got to go. And then you got to have this, and you got to have that, and you have to have a combination of this and that. So I walked over there. This is before we tore it down. So I went over one day, and I walked into Sonny's, and you can tell when you're a fish out of water. So I walked in and was like, so I got all these comments on social media, so I feel like I need to try everything. So I said, well, I want one piece of fried chicken, and then I'll have a half a piece of fish, and then I'll have, and so the person is sitting there, and she's like, where are you coming from? We don't do that here, right? No, you get a box, and you get a plate over here, and that's it. Now, which one do you want? And I realized that, okay, I'm not the boss here, and so I'll just take my little 2 boxes, and then put them in my car and came back to my office, and I'm not a person to be eating that type of food every day, but At the end, I ate everything, right? And got to a point where I wasn't using a fork, right? And so I understood the importance of bringing Sonny's back. And so now I'm going to go over and I'm going to say to Sonny's now, you're going to have all these incredibly new digs. You got to make sure that that taste, if you will, is still the same Sonny's taste. But these shops are opening and we can't be any more thrilled. We also are planning to move into this facility there next to the business school. That's going to be our new Barnes & Noble bookstore with a Starbucks cafe. With tables outside and all of that as well. And when are we scheduled to make this move, Kim?
Springtime.
In spring. And so in spring, the bookstore will no longer be in the student center. It's going to be over there in this new facility. You have some wonderful outside places to sit and to eat and to congregate as a community and build more Morgan memories. The public safety building is finished, and we're just waiting for some technology to be installed.
We're trying to move in next month.
Okay, so the move in there is going to be next month, and so this is where our police will be over there as well. So we're bringing, if you will, a public safety presence to this area because now we have all of our academic buildings over there. And this is just a grand opening of these buildings. They've been opening piecemeal, but there will be a huge grand opening of the entire center when everything is finished, which perhaps is going to be late spring of this year. And you can see that these grand openings already have attracted quite a few leaders. The chair of our board, Congressman Kwesi Mfume, has been at a couple of these. So have Senator Ben Cardin, Senator Van Hollen, the mayor, and so many people from the corporate community as well. And we are very, very thrilled. This is the opening of LEADER, and I'm just basically pointing out to the mayor that Morgan is the city's North Star. And the city of Baltimore can't be what the city of Baltimore can be if Morgan is not leading the way. And that's what this is about, is being that anchor institution in Baltimore City, not running away from what we see, but being a problem solver with the city. And we are very, very pleased. And so as I end this, I was caught at the opening of LEADER by the Afro newspapers while I'm walking through just to kind of take in the moment. And they approached me and said, "Oh, President Wilson, can you give us a brief interview?" And this is what I shared, if we can play that, if you will. And I want you to hear it because I'm connecting a few things. I'm connecting what it means to be a community with history, with race, to be true to that site and what has happened there. And so Ms. Ben is trying to find the video, if you will, and you think we're close to it, Ms. Ben? Okay, so if you would bear with us for perhaps 25 or 30 more seconds. And if you have questions, you can start lining up to come to the mic here, or feedback or comments, if you will. Okay, I'm not going to wait until the video is ready, and so we'll come back to the video when it is ready. And so if you would introduce yourself and your major and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Kanaya Walker. I'm a theater major. I'm a sophomore, and I'm from New Jersey, South Jersey specifically. My concern is a few things, but I'll get through them quickly. First and foremost, it's about my campus experience. Now, I appreciate this institution, and I appreciate how you're trying to beautify the campus, but I just feel as though there's not enough inclusivity here. A lot of the events here seem to like build up to homecoming and the excitement towards homecoming and alum. However, after that, it's like campus is just a ghost town. And I feel as though that there should be more events catering towards the general population that don't want to be in an org, because Greek life isn't for everybody. SGA isn't for everybody. And I feel as though there should be able to be people who don't have to be in SGA to help run those events. Like for the women, like a flower festival, like we could be doing fall things right now, a flower festival to represent femininity. A lot of women are brought up thinking that roses are the ideal flower when there are azaleas and orchids and carnations and so many other things. And we could even have like pumpkin painting for students, and the Greeks and other orgs could put pumpkins next to their plots. I just feel as though student life is based on students being in an organization specifically, and that's very frustrating to me.
Okay, Ms. Walker?
Yes.
Okay, from South Jersey.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, also, I wanted to know if the budget for student affairs could be increased possibly, or if our student fees could be dispersed a bit so that this could be possible.
Okay, so let me take the last one first. I really do appreciate your feedback, because we are always looking at how we can enhance the student experience at Morgan. And of course, in order to enhance the student experience, we need to listen to students and take your brilliant ideas. And so Dr. Kevin Banks is here representing the Division of Student Affairs. And Dr. Banks, you want to respond to Ms. Walker as to how we can make sure that her very, very spot-on comments are taken into advisement, and that we begin to incorporate many more of the ideas that students have in elevating the quality of the student experience.
Well, there's several ways that...
And you can grab the mic over there if you like.
Well, first of all, I do agree that we may need to reconsider the activities fee. And you know, our students are real sensitive around increasing fees, and we've had this conversation with our student government over previous years, and to be quite honest, on several occasions, the student government elected not to increase fees because they were really being sensitive to the student experience. But there's several ways and vehicles for students to get engaged, and so through your resident, do you live on campus?
No.
Okay. So I was going to say, if you were in a resident hall, you can go through your resident hall association. But we do cater to events. Have you gone to our campus activities board?
Yes.
And you've spoken to them about different activities?
Yes. And I understand that may seem as though that's a solution. However, being a part of these organizations shouldn't be like the solution to my problem or my idea, because maybe I want it to be run my way specifically, and I can't always get my way, I will admit that. However, I shouldn't be subject to joining a club, because what if I don't have the money to pay dues continuously? Because dues add up. And not everybody has a job when they first start out at Morgan, and it's difficult to get one when you have classes and other things to block your schedule from corporate companies wanting you to be open and available to always be there.
But the beauty of our system here is that if there's a club here that you don't see, you can create that club and find students that have the same beliefs as you, and then you can submit a proposal for an activity once you become organized. I mean, there's something to be said for bringing people with like minds and like ideas to achieve a goal. And so that is a process that you can utilize. And I would encourage you to meet with Ms. Natasha Williams about your ideas in the Office of Student Life and Development.
All right, thank you, Dr. Banks. So, Ms. Walker, let me kind of sum it up as well this way. I really like what I'm hearing from you. And so if you know there are other students that are kind of saying to us, we want to think about this differently, then pull together however many of those students, right? Starting with yourself. And basically, let's have another conversation. I want you to identify how we can help you to be more innovative in the space where I'm hearing you very clearly. It's not about being a part of an organized entity. And so if that's the case, how do we make sure we're supporting you so you are owning your Morgan experience and we are removing as many obstacles as possible that are in front of you? So if indeed you wanted to do some of the things that you're doing and other students wanted to do some of the things that they are doing, so long as they are rooted in respect, you will have our support.
Okay.
All right?
Yes, my other concerns were regarding the shuttle and emergency funds. As far as the shuttle goes, I just feel as though, like, I've been in contact with shuttle services, but I wanted to know if there was any way that the shuttle, like, that we could increase a budget of some sort to pay drivers to run it every hour, or at least get twice as many as there are right now, because there's only one for each residence hall. And I live in Towson Town Place, so it's a hassle having to come back and forth to campus and being early, 2 hours early for a 3 o'clock class because the drivers need their break. So
Okay.
is there any way for any type of rotation to happen? No.
So we'll look into this, because I thought we were using many more than one shuttle. I know I go by some of the off-campus sites, and I see some shuttles that are lined up, sometimes 3 in a row or so. And so let us check to see if that is indeed the case at Towson Town Place and other places, because we really have invested heavily in the shuttles, and we need to see, number one, are they running on time? And we know that we have some problems with that. And then number two, is there a better way in which we can actually promote more punctuality on the part of the shuttles? And it might not start with additional investments per se if we don't know what problem we're trying to fix. Okay?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Lastly.
Okay, this is the last one now.
Yes, it is. I promise, like,
right.
it's only 3. Okay, lastly, my concern was you said that you make sure you don't want to see a student without a meal.
Yes.
But what are the people that have been waiting for emergency funds to disperse that don't have meals supposed to do in the meantime?
They're supposed to, first of all, we're supposed to get those funds dispersed to you in a timely fashion. And if we're not doing that, then you need to bring that to our attention. And if that's not happening, then basically contact the Vice President for Student Affairs. We have a food resource center on campus. And if that doesn't work, you always send me an email.
frc@morgan.edu.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right, welcome to Morgan.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is, well, did you want to play your video before my question?
Oh, wait, yeah, see, this is a journalist. And so she's setting me up, right, to say, I have a very serious question, and so you might want to play the video first. No, Ms. Mitchell, go forward with your question, please.
Okay, hi, my name is Trey Mitchell. I'm a senior multimedia journalism major, and I'm here on behalf of the spokesman. And my question is, on October 9th, you sent out an email condemning Morgan State University students and the community regarding trash after homecoming. However, many of the students, after receiving your email, complained that trash receptacles were full early on, and for much of the remainder of their day at homecoming, the receptacles remained full. In hindsight, do you still hold that the responsibility to keep the campus clean during homecoming and events is the responsibility of the Morgan State University community, or should it be the responsibility of administration? And then the next part to this is moving.
Could I answer one part first? Okay. So, first of all, a careful reading of my email, I did not lay blame on students. I don't think you would find any aspect of my email where I said that, and if so, circle back with me for your follow-up question, right? That email was rooted in respect, and it covered all publics that made their way to homecoming. Everybody, not just directed at students. It was directed at the thousands of people who were here, and it was simply meant, yes, to say to them, this was not done respectfully. And this is who we are as an institution, and these are our values. And so as we go forward, let's treat this institution with the highest degree of respect. Second, we certainly, as an administration, absorb some of the shortcomings in that, in hindsight, we perhaps did not have enough receptacles, larger ones, with the level of frequency that perhaps we should have. And I'm sure the homecoming committee is already taking note of that, and going forward, that will certainly be addressed.
Okay, and you kind of already addressed the second part, but if you could just go into detail if you have any plans about the upcoming homecoming regarding your plans to make sure that receptacles are clean and that after people disperse from campus that there's not trash all over our, field houses or fields.
First of all, Ms. Mitchell, let me say to our incredible colleagues in the physical plant, you are the absolute best. You're the best colleagues that I have worked with in my space in higher ed across 3 institutions. Many of you might not know that Dr. Banks, who not just homecoming, but every single event on campus, he is here from the beginning until the end. And sometimes that's midnight, 1 a.m. And sometimes he may not get home 3 or 4 days consecutively until after midnight, right? And so, you may have seen me. I drive this campus, 1 or 2 times every single night. I just don't leave my office, go home. No. I come back on this campus at 10 o'clock. I drive through. I drive around Morgan View. And I walk the campus. I get a real sense of what is going on our campus. And so at homecoming, a routine for me is typically after the football game, I'll stay around for a couple hours, and then I go and I have a suit and all that all day, and then change, and then come back to the campus later that night, and pretty much on or near the campus by the time everyone is leaving. And the way I have seen the campus at midnight is just unreal, right? This is just not this homecoming. And then I shake my head and say, it's going to take us a month to get all of this off of our national treasure grounds. And I go home, and like clockwork, I'll get up at 5:30 in the morning, that's Sunday morning, make my way back to campus, because I usually have to go to a memorial service in the chapel. And I drive by this campus at 7 a.m. I can't believe it. It's spotless. And so our colleagues in the physical plant, they have this down to a science. They show up, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. They bring out all the equipment with their own hands. They're picking up all this stuff. And they are standing there in glory, because here's what they understand all too well. The Morgan campus for me, as a member of the grounds crew, is my Picasso. And when I go and I cut the grass, and I go and I do the trimming, it's like I'm painting my Picasso. And that's the pride that they have in the campus. And as president, I really just want to always thank them. So they have a system in place to do this. But I was speaking to a larger issue, which is how do we show them some respect and make their work easier. And it's just one of the pieces. I realize that this is something I struggle with, if you will. When I go to sporting events and go and buy things, whatever, and I'm sitting outside, and everybody just dropping it right there. I never do that. I just cannot bring myself, if you will, to drink my soda and then drop the thing right there at the seat, even though I know the stadium crew is coming in and cleaning up. No. I grab mine and I take it until I find a receptacle. But that's just the way that I have been brought up to respect property.
So I guess my question is, do you have any changes in your plans for next year, or will the plans that you had this year and previous years remain the same?
It's too soon for me to make a statement to the university community about what next year's plans are, because that's a process, and that process is going to start with a meeting of the homecoming committee to do a thorough review of everything that happened, and then we're looking at what the recommendations will be coming out of that committee, and then we'll make an announcement to the university community as to what changes, if any, we can expect for next year's homecoming.
Has that process begun, and if not, when will it begin?
I think the committee is meeting next week, Tuesday, so the process will start on Tuesday.
Okay, and then just last question, can you explain a little bit more in detail about the stake that Morgan State University has in Northwood Commons? I'm a little confused whether or not we're owning some of that property, if we've put money into that property, just trying to figure out what's our stake is there.
Yeah, so when we talk Northwood, we have to start with the West Campus. And so the West Campus are those buildings, the business school, Jenkins, and that's it, right? So those buildings we own. And we own them because the university several years ago was visionary enough to actually buy, how many acres? 9 acres of what was Northwood Plaza, right? And it was an old, dilapidated Hex building there. The site was awful. I didn't think we would ever be able to build on it. And when I arrived here, we had ropes. I mean, it was just a mess, right? But we owned it. And so then we had to go through a process of getting the state to invest the $200 million that I spoke about to then build on it. And so that's Morgan. Everything there is Morgan owned. The public safety building is one where Morgan owns the building, but we had to negotiate what we call a ground lease with the owners of the shopping center. And is that a 30-year ground lease, Kim, or a 99-year ground lease, right? So in essence, we own the building because it was our money that built it, but we entered into a 99-year, $1 a year or whatever it is, ground lease, right? Then for the Barnes and Noble facility, we are leasing it from the developer, or from the developer owner, for X thousands of dollars per year, whatever that amount is. I think that lease is maybe a 10-year lease with maybe 3 renewables. You can get these facts. It's something like that. Along the way, in order for that development to happen, we played one more role. The finances just could not come together in order for the deal to happen. And so the state has a fund called the community, the core. Yes. And so with the support of Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford, with former State Senator Joan Carter Conway, we were able to get the state to invest about $6 million in the infrastructure over there and so Morgan's interest was that we use that then to buy down the annual amount of the lease for the Barnes and Noble building. And if you have additional follow-up questions at that level of granularity, feel free to call me or stop by my office and we can have an interview.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sure. All right.
Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
My name is Sierra Payton. I am a sophomore political science major.
Great major, by the way.
Thank you.
Yes.
From Prince George's County, Maryland. First, I want to say thank you for sharing your future plans for our university to put us at an even better level than where we are right now. My question is really concerning security. As we know, there have been incidents, at least since my freshman year, that shootings or different situations that violate student safety have occurred. I had a personal incident with escort. I had a late class and the escort didn't come in time. It was very late. I wanted to know, especially for students that end up living off campus housing, will there be any new security measures that will help ensure student safety, especially at night?
We, of course, have made significant investments in security, including hiring 20 more armed police officers, acquiring an outside firm, Allied, to further augment security. And it became so serious for us in terms of rapidly moving to bring in as many additional bodies as possible that, we ended up with an audit finding in this area because we didn't wait to go through the official procurement process because of the urgency of the matter, right? And so now we are in an ongoing, regular process of assessing our security as an open urban campus and whatever additional investments we need to make, we will. We are having early discussions about perhaps sending out a request for proposal for a national entity to come in and just kind of do an assessment of all of the investments that we have made already and whether if you were to look at other campuses like whatever, Temple University, I lived in Philadelphia for 16 years, so it's located in the heart of North Philadelphia, right? Or some of the other urban open campuses. Or there are other things that we can learn here at Morgan in order to further elevate the public safety of the campus. So this is an ongoing process, and you'll be hearing more from me in terms of the direction that we're going to go on that. But with regard to escort services and things like that, if you're not having the kind of experience there, and it seems like you're not, you need to let us know that, and you have let us know that tonight. But give your name to Dr. Banks so we can circle back, have an ongoing conversation with you to make sure that the escort service is doing what it is supposed to do. Now, with regard to off-campus facilities, if you live in Morgan View, Morgan View also has put in place special security for Morgan View. And then the leases that we entered into with the Lloyd Baltimore Hotel, there's also security associated with that. We have a security person on every floor there, right? And so if you are staying in a hotel, we have worked with them so that the keys are designed in such a way that when you get on the elevator, you can only go to your floor. And then when you get off, there's a security person staring you in the face, right? Just to make sure that we are making our students as safely as possible, but keeping our students as safely as possible. All right, thank you. And I do like your major, right? You could be president at Morgan with that major. All right, next, and we're going to get through these.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Jalen Pringle. I'm an elementary education major, senior.
That's a great major.
Thank you.
Yes.
I was a former poli-sci major.
Okay.
So I just have a one-part question. I'll just read it off. Goal number 5 of the Transformation Morgan 2030 plan is for Morgan to serve as the premier anchor institution for Baltimore City and beyond. In the 2019 Baltimore Sun op-ed, you stated that if the state really wants to see Morgan continue to develop as Maryland's preeminent public urban research university, it needs to correct the mistakes of the past and do the right thing this time, merge the University of Baltimore into Morgan. Following the pandemic and Morgan's recent explosive growth, do you still agree with that statement?
Yes.
Would you expand on?
Right, so let me make sure that you understand what the yes I'm agreeing to is, right? So go back and read the editorial correctly. It was not that Morgan was going to merge into the University of Baltimore. And so some individuals sometimes who have a certain kind of agenda would take words and twist them around. That was not what I said. I said the University of Baltimore should merge into Morgan, right? And Morgan is now the institution with a main campus here in Northeast Baltimore, a downtown campus with a law school, right? The model that I propose is no different than what you see in Nashville, Tennessee, where the University of Tennessee, Nashville was located 3 miles from Tennessee State University, and it was the downtown site. But then, as a result of a lawsuit there, the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, merged into Tennessee State University, and you have Tennessee State University downtown, if you go to Nashville, right? And Tennessee State University, where it currently is in terms of the main campus. That's the model. The university, so the state, when you look at the way higher ed was developed in the state around Baltimore, there were, it's just an unbelievable history, but the University of Baltimore was a private school. And it was about to fold its doors. It was about to go under. And the state purchased it, based on my reading, with one intent. And that intent was to drive Morgan out of business. It's a very complicated history. And I do my homework, I choose my words carefully, and I try and be in a position where I can defend what I'm saying based on the historical record. So yes, I do believe that the state missed an opportunity and not merge the University of Baltimore into Morgan. And once I've said it publicly, I can't then say, oh, I rethought that, and I don't think that's the case. No, I still believe that, and I would believe it until my days as president here end, and even after I'm gone. All right? Is that clear? Thank you. Yes.
All right. Hello. My name is Brittany Holt. I am a construction management major.
Very good major.
Yes.
So going into the internship on our property?
Definitely going to talk to her. So I have 2 questions. My first question is the internet on campus. If I'm in the library and I have done plenty of tests or quizzes, the internet has completely gone, like has just went disconnected, and it messed up my quiz. Like, you know, once you're in a quiz, you can't go back into it. To the point that I have to take a picture and show my professor I got kicked out of my quiz because there's no service. And then also in Tyler Hall on the first floor, you do not have any cellular bars. I actually missed the interview call because I didn't have no service. So once I got to the second floor, I caught the voicemail, was able to call them back. But there's absolutely no service to make calls, like on your personal phone on the first floor of Tyler.
Okay, so we'll look into that because you said when I enter Tyler from the parking lot on that first floor, there's no service?
There's no service. Like, you won't be able to make any type of calls.
Okay, so I experienced
over by, like, if you go over by the Office of Admissions and near the tour room, there's no service there.
And so I experienced this, and what I had to do was I had to turn my phone off, turn it on, and make sure I was connected to the network properly. But Dr. Brower?
That is actually true. Yep. Whoever your service provider is, you may not have service, but it's not just Tyler Hall. There's a whole stretch down Cold Spring Lane, especially if you have Verizon.
Oh, yep, that's what I have. I have Verizon. Okay. Okay. And then Wi-Fi in the library.
Okay, so we need to, so this is not a Verizon issue in the library, is it? And we don't have
No,
a
that's
lot of people here?
that's just my laptop.
And so we're going to follow up tomorrow and have IT to go over and test what's going on in the library, see if there are upgrades needed over there. And then, Provost, you heard that students are being kicked out of exams sometimes in the library, and so we need to convey that to our deans as well.
And my second question is, I am a student ambassador, so I give tours almost every day during the week, and it's embarrassing for students to come on campus and they're smelling weed and they see people smoking weed. And then if you're in the parking garage, you walk through the stairs, there's people smoking in the stairwell, they're starting to leave trash in the stairwells. We don't have mice in the student center. So why, like, people are leaving trash, you're walking up the stairs, trying to get to like the 3rd floor, you have to walk through people that's sitting on the stairs and they won't move. Mm-hmm. So you're walking through a pile of smoke, and God forbid if I'm going into a classroom or I'm going to an interview, now I have that scent on me and now they think that I'm the one that did it, but instead, I just walked through a bunch of students that are smoking weed. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Okay, and the chief is basically looking at this. We're installing cameras in all of these places. We know where many of the students are gathering. We are upgrading all of our lighting. We are doing a complete upgrade of all the cameras on campus. So we're not going to invade any of your private spaces, right? But be forewarned that you will not do anything on this campus that you are not supposed to do, and you are not being watched. That is being captured, and once we go back and look at those videos, if you are found to be doing things that are prohibited on the campus, you're going to be brought up on the Code of Student Conduct, and that could be place you in a position where you might have to separate from the institution. So we're very serious about this, because that is not respecting the institution, yes, right? So let me turn the table on you just for a moment, right? Because Ms. Mitchell asked me questions about trash and receptacles. How would you answer her question?
I mean, the trash, okay, so for homecoming, maybe, I probably didn't really notice.
No, this is...
But in general, there is trash cans around.
So you were talking about the fact that you are now seeing trash
in the stairwells of the garage. Right? No, in the stairwell of the garage.
Or not in the student center?
Not in the student center, in the actual stairwell of the garage. So I guess they're like smoking and eating, and then they leave all of their trash there. Mm-hmm. But there's trash cans right on each floor, right by the elevators. So if you are leaving the stairwell, you run into some type of trash can, mm-hmm. and then if you're on the 3rd floor that connects the student center to the parking garage, mm-hmm. there's trash cans at that door, and then there's trash cans by the SGA office. Mm-hmm. And our housing, like our housekeeping, they make sure they change those trash cans frequently. So I'm not understanding why they're leaving trash in the stairwells.
Well, I was going to ask you, so what do you think is going on with whomever is leaving the trash behind like that?
Genuinely, they're probably just high and they don't care. They don't care about our university until it's too late, I guess you could say, or they don't take pride in our university like the rest of us do, mm-hmm. and that's downgrading to our university. And like I said, I'm bringing high school students, trying to recruit them to Morgan. That's not a good impression for them to see the trash and see people smoking and see. I mean, obviously students are going to smoke, but for them to see that and walk past Sofa House and smell, like literally you're walking outside and all you smell is marijuana. Mm-hmm. That's not what we stand on. That's not what our university is about.
Very good. So let me suggest. You think about how we can partner, mm-hmm. how the student body can now partner with the administration in this space. This was about 8 years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago. We had a town hall meeting, and the students were absolutely upset that so many people were smoking on campus, right?
Yes.
And they said, well, President Wilson, we don't want to be in smoke-filled environments. Yeah. And I said, okay, how do we partner? Can you get a sense of how the students feel about this? And if so, then make a recommendation. So they went out and they took a semester. I'm not asking you to take a semester, but they took a semester and they surveyed the students. They built up support. They came back with a well-thought-out proposal that we become a smoke-free campus. And I took that to the Board of Regents. The Board of Regents unanimously approved it. And that's how we became a smoke-free campus. Otherwise, you have smoke everywhere, right? So now we are in this period where the state of Maryland has decriminalized marijuana. The President of the United States is moving toward forgiving the sentences of individuals who were incarcerated because they possessed it, right?
Yes.
Yet it is still prohibited on our campus. And we know that 98% of our students don't want that. We know that 100% of the faculty and the administration don't want that, right? So if you could think about a strong partnership between us and the students around no marijuana smoking on campus, how do we do it together?
Okay.
And I am pledging our support to work with you so that it is an effort that is not just seen as one that is administratively driven. It is in partnership with our students in the wider community. Okay?
Yes.
And stop by my office and let's continue the conversation.
Will do.
And I really don't want this to be lost.
Oh, no,
I'm
it
very
won't, trust
serious.
me. Like I said, I give tours with the Office of Undergraduate Admissions, so this is something that I want to stay on top of because we're recruiting students every day
Okay.
to come to Morgan. We're recruiting transfer students to come to Morgan, but we don't want that to be their first impression is seeing that.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely something I was like waiting for. I was waiting for you to say when the town hall meeting was. I've been telling people I was going to bring that to your attention.
That's good.
So yes.
Well, you did, and you did it very well.
Yes,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Right? Now, give Tim McKellar your name so you can get that consideration for an internship. Yes.
Hello, Dr. Wilson.
Hello, how are you? Always good to see you.
My name is Stephen John Fuller, graduate computer science major now. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can speak into the mic, Steve.
Okay. And to add to what they said about the coverage, it is very true. The entire Morgan View complex and then the East Cold Spring, even up to Tyler, Verizon is very weak. In fact, one time when the Wi-Fi went out in the entire campus, I had to call my parents because I had to get out of there so I could, do my studying and all that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. So I was at homecoming this year, with my friends and family. And one thing I noticed was that the thresholds to get into the game or to even get into the tailgate, they were very slow. I showed up at the game 3 minutes into the first quarter and did not get in from the student entrance until the end of halftime. You had a lot of people, sneaking in, trying to get in this way and that way. And this was a very big problem at the tailgate. In fact, the tailgates actually got canceled because people start hopping the gates and all that. So I just wanted to ask if there's a possibility to increase staffing, maybe do some student staffing the next homecoming, because I think those were great ideas. The tailgate, I think, was a good idea to fenced in. I just think, it might need some modification.
Okay, so very good feedback, and Dr. Banks is taking notes, as you can see over here. I noticed the chair of the board and I, at the end of the parade, we basically visit all of the reunion classes, and then we make our way to the stadium, right? And so as we were making our way to the stadium, about perhaps 5 minutes or so before kickoff, we noticed the long lines as well, right? And they were very, very long. And one explanation here is that because of supply chain issues, the metal detectors that we would normally use, I believe, for individuals to kind of walk through had not been delivered. And so individuals were, the personnel was literally swiping every individual with a handheld, and that, if you will, delayed entry. But going forward, we're going to look at having the detectors to be there in the same way as if you were going to a Ravens game or if you were going to an Oreo game, and you would have to literally just kind of walk through, and that speeds to entry significantly. And then we I said, we want to rethink the homecoming in such a way that whatever comes out of that committee, I'm sure they're going to look at that. How do you construct the barriers in a way that they cannot if you will, just easily be tossed over. Because when I went, I think the idea was good. But, you know, when you are just kind of hitching together, if you will, some of these things like this, right? That's not a barrier, right? And so we have to do a better job of understanding what a barrier is, and the whole purpose of the barrier is to limit ingress and egress, and then to have security at both places, and then to elevate security so they're always watching the crowd. But the barriers were just not sufficient for what we had thought they would be.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Okay, and we need to fix those Wi-Fi issues. Right? Did you say you just finished computer science?
Yes.
Did you just finish?
Last year I graduated with my bachelor's.
Yes.
I'm in graduate school.
Oh, graduate school. Okay, and what's your graduate major?
Computer science.
Oh, a master's in computer science. Okay, very good. So good luck to you.
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Okay, last question. Last question.
Hi, my name is Benta. I am a pre-nursing major and I'm a sophomore. I just have I have one question, and it's about parking. I understand that you are putting more like buildings on campus, but as of right now, I know that campus parking right now is terrible. Like, I have to walk to class and I can't bring my car on campus because there's like no parking in the student center. Is there any like new parking plans put in place? Because you're building a second Thurgood as well, and I know like Mount Rawlings and Thurgood, they all share like a similar space. So is there any like parking plans put in place?
We are looking at parking plans. One, and Ms. McCallum is still kind of working through this, is that we conceptually are looking at designing multi-layered parking, maybe 2 layers. Between Rawlins, Blount, and the new Health and Human Services building. Given how that sloping is there, if you will, how do we come in the end and basically have kind of underground parking, so you could come, you know, and then you have surface parking as well, which could double or even triple the number of spaces you have around those 2 facilities right now. We are putting before the architect who will design the new science building, because once again, the slope on that hill where Washington Service Center is, to build into the design of that building underground parking, where you basically come in off of, no, they can't do it?
No, but that has not been discussed.
I thought we had that conversation, and that was, so we'll circle back to look at some creative ways. But I hear what you're saying, and we are looking at ways in which we can actually enhance our parking, even behind Jenkins Hall, where we're just talking about there. We had in our plan also building a multi-layered deck there. You know, the cost right now is a little bit prohibitive, but that still is in our plan to do that.
Thank you. That's all.
Sure. Okay. All right. So now we're just going to end this, if you will, with this quick 2.5 minute video, and and I'm done for the night. But this is the video that was shot the opening morning of the Leader Supermarket by the Afro. And Ms. Ben, did Ms. Ben take off? Okay, we have someone coming to. Mr. Luther.
Thank you, Larry. Inside of the new food market that has opened in Northwood Commons. With him as he speaks with some of the first patrons to actually purchase items inside of the store. All right, Dr. Wilson, give the Afro 2 minutes. Just 2 minutes.
An interview is with the junk food, right?
We'll take you to produce, get you something a little fresher. Dr. Wilson, what does this mean for this community and for Morgan students?
All you have to do is be in this supermarket right now, and you can see what it means for the community. This place is packed.
It is.
And the line was almost an hour long, down by Raven, right?
All right.
And so it just want high quality food at reasonable prices.
All right.
And that's what Leo is bringing to our community. And it's just been too long. It's been too long.
Yeah. So can you speak to the overall project of redeveloping a shopping center where the Morgan students actually help desegregate this very same plaza? What does it mean in a historical context of now having a hand in this redevelopment?
That's a very strong bond between Morgan State University and this site. And that relationship will forever be intertwined because it is so historic. And so to understand that Morgan students marched, protested, sat in for the simple right to buy a cup of coffee or to see a movie, and then
Okay, that's not what we wanted to show, and so we can send you the link there later, if you will.
350 of them went to jail for that right. And then to fast forward back to 2022, when not only is that right realized, but many of these stores are owned by the people who could not shop in this place. And then this particular supermarket is erasing a food desert, because when the students finally got these shops to open their doors to them, then all of them dried up and moved away because they still didn't want to survive. And so just look around and you see an incredible coming together of these all across races, across ages, across genders. This is what a community is. A community is a collection of individuals and institutions that care about each other, that support each other, and are going to work together to forever improve it. And that's what it means to me to be president of Morgan and be at the epicenter of this culturally inclusive and relevant development of this particular sacred space.
All right, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Wilson.
Okay, good night. As always, honor the great legacy and history of Morgan State University. Thank you very much for coming. If you wanted to ask a question and did not get an opportunity, feel free to send me an email and I'll be happy to address it. Let's go forward. Let's have a great rest of our fall semester. Thank you very much.